Going on YouTube, Clorbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we are going to be spotlighting Delphox for Regulation H. So this is a tier 3 sub request to the channel where you, the viewer, get to schedule a team building session with me, and we will team build around a Pokemon that you are interested in bringing for a particular tournament, a cup game. And they wanted to use Delphox. It's one of their favorite Pokemon of all time, and they wanted to bring it to a tour. And also, it's a pretty good mon that they're having fun with in Legends EA. So we scheduled a team building session with them, and we wanted to keep things relatively easy because their VGC experience was relatively new and a little bit more casual. So ideally, the best way to kind of really use Delphox is on a Psy Spam team along with some Tailwind support. But again, things you have to keep in mind with is, of course, the weather teams like Pelipper Rain, as well as Incineroar, because Incineroar can give Psy Spam teams a fit, because again, you can't click your Expanding Force against a Dark type, and at the same time, you have super effective Dark damage back against, you know, the Delphox, the Indeedees, and you just intimidate the Sneasler, right? So you can start out this way, right? Whether it be the male or the female Indeedee, and then ideally you can have the Sneasler here, right? This is fine and all, but again, we still need something for the Intimidate support, as well as, you know, again, the pressure that the Incineroar can give you. So one way to get around this is to have a defined Pokemon. So usually you can have a Kingambit of some sort or a Annihilape of some sort, right? So they can fit onto these teams, okay? We've seen this before, right? And they can do relatively well. But in the build that we chose, we ended up going with the Annihilape here because we also had some final Gambit ideas, right? And we wanted to take advantage. So Delphox here, Indeedee, instead of the female Indeedee, we went with the male one. So again, we can have double the Psy Spam pressure, and also, you know, combo well with the physical damage that we have with the Sneasler and the Annihilape here. It was just pretty much easy just to add Maushold to this, in all honesty, right? So Maushold here with the Friend Guard support, but technically we went a different direction. We went with Technician Wide Guard here. I'm sorry, Wide Lens. And then we went with just Terra Normal Population Bomb, Follow Me, Beat Up. So we still had the redirection from the Maushold, as well as the beat up idea from, you know, into the Annihilape, right? And then after this, we just needed a little bit of speed control here. So the Whimsicott was ideal here for something like this, because again, not only do we have access to Tailwind, but we also have access to Manual Sunny Day, which is annoying against, like, you know, those Pelipper teams, those Tyranitar teams, those Ninetale teams of some sort, right? And the speed tier of 104 is really, really good, okay? Because again, you're faster than base speed 100s, you're faster than Garchomp, right? And at the same time, you know, when you go Timid Nature, right, this is again going to outspeed a lot of the Volcaronas too, right? Which is again is a base speed 100 mon. So from here, the one thing you do have to keep in mind with is you are slower than a Sneasler, right? So if I were to do max speed Sneasler, Adamant Nature, again, 172 does beat 171, which is a little unfortunate for Delphox, right? But at the same time, you do also have to consider the Tailwind support from a Whimsicott here, okay? So that being said, this was the 6 that was chosen here. I remember a Swiss VGC player that went by the name of Viz, was using this build, and they had a lot of success with it. So I figured let's recreate that for our viewer here, and let's have some fun with this Delphox Psy Spam team here. So we still have the Maushold, the Annihilape mode, the Mouseape mode. We have the Hyper Aggression with Whimsicott, plus any of these really, right? Where you have like Heat Wave support in the sun. You can still go with Expanding Force by both Delphox and Indeedee, so you have your own Psy Spam mode. And then you have the physical mode with your Sneasler and or Annihilape here. And you can always Final Gambit something if you need to, right? Where you can just take something out right from the get-go and then lead on the aggression with the remaining slots that you have here. Okay, so Terra Water Whimsicott with Covert Cloak was ideally chosen here. Again, water is really nice against Goldengo, Make It Rain. Tailwind, Moonblast, Sunny Day, and over here we just went with Encore. We got some good value out of that. Yes, I understand there is Psychic Terrain on your side here, so you do have to be careful with that, but it was still very, very useful in certain games here, okay? Ideally, I went with a Timid build here, and I wanted to go to 173 here. Again, this is just to outspeed other Sneaslers, but at the same time, I pushed it a little bit further because I know other Whimsicotts are going to be doing the same thing. And now I at least push myself past the Dondozo breaking point here. Then after that, you just max the HP here, 1 point in the special attack, 1 point in physical attack, dump the rest here in Spadef. That magic 103 number there, and of course, you know, just a little bit more defense there. So it's a pretty bulky Whimsicott build there. And it's usually the one that we choose with the Cobra Cloak, you know, if we don't have the Sash. With the Delphox here, we went with Life Orb, Heat Wave, Expanding Force, of course, and then Protect. Now, this last move slot here, it was usually Terra Blast, Terra Fighting. This is very useful against stuff like, you know, Archelodon, King Gambit, Incineroar. Very useful, right? Because, you know, King Gambit and Incineroar can give Delphox some fits, especially if they have Rillaboom where they can just take away terrain and stuff. Okay, and then they can just Sucker Punch you, so it's like you almost don't have a Delphox. So this is where like the Terra Blast really comes in clutch. Then the Indeedee here. So again, this is where our Sash ended up being Expanding Force, Imprison Trick Room, right? So this way you can use this against other Tailwind teams. And then we went with Terra Blast, not Terra Fighting, but Terra Fairy, which is again very useful against stuff like, you know, Dragonite Scale Shot shenanigans, and then just dealing Terra Blast, Terra Fairy damage into the Dragonite, right? So we got some good value out of that. And then this is still pretty useful against like other dark types that want to pressure Delphox, for example. Obviously the Sneasler is going to be unburdened with the Psychic Seeds here. Very standard set on the Sneasler. Terra Stellar was the way to go here. All right, I'm sorry, Terra Dark here. Then after that, it's just ideally going to be the typical set with Throat Chop and Protect. So you are going to use the Dire Claw, you are going to use the Close Combat here, right? And then just full Adamant build here on the Sneasler. The Annihilape here, I went with Safety Goggles. I've seen some other items on this Annihilape. I've even seen Assault Vest, which is what Viz was doing. I remember our Global Challenge team from over a year ago where we used Assault Vest Annihilape with Final Gambit with the Maushold there. So I did experiment with that. That was pretty good too, but I just had a little bit more value with the Safety Goggles set this time around. Terra Fire is ideal. You can also go Terra Water. Both are very, very solid Terras. But anyway, you know, Rage Fist, obviously, you know, great after the beat up stuff, great at soaking up damage, close combat, and then of course here we can have a Drain Punch here for a little bit more recovery. And really it just came down to max speed Jolly, outspeed those you know, Goldangles and whatnot, and then just have about 208 HP, knock out the base 100s, 1 point in the bulk, and then just dump the rest here into the attacking stat there. And that's really all we needed. The Maushold here. So again, with the Jolly nature Mouse, again, I'm just going max attack here, but still going max speed. I want some good value out of my Population Bomb here. You can also go Terra Ghost if you really need to. I think it's totally fine. Otherwise, you can get a little bit more nuke damage with the Terra Normal. But I leave that up to you as the player to decide that. Okay. So after this, oh, I forgot the Indeedee. Let me just go ahead and make this modest here. So you can see it's a relatively easy build to use, and it's a very effective one too. We won our fair share of games with this. But the ideas and the plans are very clear with something like this. Okay, which means they can be somewhat relatively linear, but again, it's still pretty good. You have a lot of options to a lot of different things. So first of all, you have the Whimsicott idea that you can lead not just with Delphox, but even just Maushold in general, right? Like Tailwind, Population Bomb, which, you know, can lead into Sunny Day with Heat Wave into the Delphox, right? And then you can even do like Delphox with a +1, Indeedee coming in on switching, right? So then you can just spam Expanding Force. Against Tailwind teams, you can even just click Trick Room, right? If they think they can click Tailwind against you. Right, so sometimes if you do like Whimsicott Indeedee, right? And I see they lead their own Whimsicott, what I like to do is just, you know, click Trick Room, right? Because I know they want to try and match Tailwinds. And then you can just repivot out your Whimsicott for the end game. But, you know, just bringing something else that's aggressive in your Trick Room when they click Tailwind is also quite nice. The Annihilape was just used to take out anything that was, we felt like, relatively annoying. Like if you, like a Tyranitar can sometimes cause some issues, especially when they go like Terra Flying. So you just take that off the board, and then you don't have to worry about sand anymore. Delphox can kind of just beat the most common stuff with the Tyranitar sand teams here, right? So you also still have Maushold Ape, where you can just go beat up into your own Annihilape and just, you know, go for hard-hitting Rage Fist. Otherwise, you still have Indeedee Sneasler mode, where you can bring in Tailwind in the end game, deal some early aggression with your physical mode, Expanding Force as well. By the way, Imprison Expanding Force, right? Again, you can shut down that as well. So like other opposing sites spam teams, which Annihilape does not want to deal with, as well as your own Sneasler. So you can always just go with Imprison in that sense. But like I said, with Delphox here, with the Terra Blast, Terra Fighting, that can be very useful, even against like Ursalunas too, right? So don't forget about that. Yes, you do have a Sneasler and Annihilape, but sometimes you don't have the board position to use them, and you're out with the Delphox there, so you do have to take advantage of that. All right, so it's a pretty standard hyper aggressive team that wants to really bring out the best in Delphox. So again, we got the speed control, we have our Incineroar matchup, we have our dark type matchup, which is what we're looking for. We have weather on our side with Sunny Day, okay, and we still have a pretty aggressive physical mode with the Maushold, Ape, and the Sneasler here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's test this for a few games, and let's just showcase how this team can run. All right, so this is a pretty interesting team here. They got the Tauros, the Among Us, Primarina, Fire, Water, Grass Cord there. Then they have Gothitelle stuff with Goldengo, Ursaluna. There's some interesting infatuation with Gothitelle like on ladder right now. But anyway, the trapping stuff is actually kind of funny. But I like our expanding force pressure. I also like our fire damage against the Among Us and the Goldengo there. And at the same time, I like our side spam mode. Okay, so we have a pretty good, we're pretty aggressive here. You know, he's got a lot of slow options, so we don't necessarily need the quote-unquote tailwind support from the Whimsicott. We can rely on other options here. So he's going to go with Goldengo, and he's going to go with Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? And I'm going to go with Maushold here, and I'm going to go with Annihilape here. So I want to see what he wants to try and do. He goes for Protect Goldengo. So I'm just going to try and nuke the Ursaluna. What I could have even done here was even just go for the Terra Normal Population Bomb here, right? Just to look at all this damage into Ursaluna. Like, Terra Normal is definitely going to pick this up there. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to play against, like, Ursaluna like this, right? You can just nuke it from the get-go, right? Because my Annihilape did not need to take all this damage, right? I thought it would pick up, but it did not. All right, Vacuum Wave, right? So there's the AV set, obviously, right? So we just nuked the Goldengo there. It does live on 1, by the way. That is not a sash, all right? So that was a little unfortunate for me, right? That the Goldengo did live that, all right? But at the same time, he was Life Orb, so he does take himself out. So now we just go into Delphox here. Now he goes Tauros, right? So now we do have Side Spam on our side here, so that's exactly what we're doing. He can still Terra if he wants. He does go into Gothitelle here. Good pivot there. He does protect the Tauros. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. So good play by our opponent. A little bit of chip on Gothitelle here. But now he has to make a choice. He goes back into Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? He goes Terra Dark here, right? So Expanding Force. What I should have done was just click Heat Wave, / Expanding Force there, right? And then that was a better combination to use. And I usually do that, but I didn't do it here. And you'll see it in some of our other games here. But another Protect from the Tauros, right? So now we go for the Heat Wave, right? And of course, we got the whiff on the Expanding Force. Again, the Tauros, all he has to do is just keep clicking Protect. No damage is coming out on the board here. Resisted Psychic is not going to get it done here. So I just say, you know what? Let me just go Terra Fade, get rid of this Gothitelle, which is what I should have done from the get-go, right? But again, another mistake from us. This is like one of our first games trying to use it. But now we just take him out, right? So there goes the Tauros there. So couple of unoptimal plays there. But again, we had the aggression. And when you're aggressive, I should say, even though you might make like a mistake or two, it's better to be aggressive and make those mistakes than be passive and get punished. And it was funny enough because, again, we did run into them again. So I wanted to see what they would do this time. So I'm going to go with Delphox Ape this time, right? So he's going to go Gothitelle and he's going to go Ursaluna this time. So no Goldengo, right? Now he goes back into Goldengo, right? That's okay by us. I wanted to see what he might try and do. So I wanted to click Final Gambit into that, but I get punished here, right? But not completely because he clicked Blood Moon into the Delphox, not the Ape. Now we go Terra Fighting, right? There's the Goldengo, and now he goes for Vacuum Wave. That does not do enough, right? I wanted to click Terra Blast into the Ursaluna, and again, it is AV. I just nuked the Goldengo here, right? Because I know he's just going to Terra Water. It would have been annoying later, so I just wanted to take it off the board. Now he has Primarina, Ursaluna. Now we can just spam stuff, right? He goes into Gothitelle here. This is fine. Heat Wave, look at all that damage. We got a double critical here. That's the Clover luck for you guys, right? There's the Expanding Force. Good damage into Prim, right? Here's the Citrus Berry, and there is the Hyper Voice, and we are still totally fine here. All right, now we just click Expanding Force, and now Prim and Gothitelle just drop there. So there, yeah, that's pretty much it. And now he has only left with the Ursaluna, and that's not going to be good enough against the remaining mods that we have. So we're able to get a second game on them as well. All right, so someone is using the Wolf Glick team from Milwaukee here. Now, the one thing that I did forget, of course, is the typing on the Hisuian Zora, right? I forget you can't click a ghost move into that. You're going to see that in this battle, I believe here. But again, it's still fine because we were so ahead that, you know, even though that mistake was made, it doesn't punish us. So he's gonna go Indeedee and Whimsicott here. Very interesting lead. I'm gonna go Maushold, and I'm gonna go Annihilape again. Thanks for giving me Defiant, right? I know you have Mirror, but guess what? Like, if I just go redirection into Indeedee, well, like, how are you beating my Ape? I know you have a Instant, but what can you really do to it? He goes for a Taunt. That tells me that's a Zoroark there. So goodbye, Instant, close combat. Typical Cloverbell's crit. Doesn't matter, we were +1. Goes into Ursaluna. I know that thing is a Zoroark. Well, thank you for giving me Defiant again. Okay, I don't know why you did that. Alright, so I went for Rage Fist into the Whimsicott, but again, I forgot that it was the Zoroark. I could have just close combated that thing, man. But mistake by us. We get Earth powered and we get taken down. So that's just on us, right? But now look at this. Now we go into Delphox. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into Maushold here. All right, he protects the Ursaluna. Why he does that, I couldn't tell you. Bitter Malice. We do actually live because Delphox is a champ, right? And here is the E-Force. We take out the Zoroark. And again, we do drop to our own life for it. But again, we still have the mouse here. Goes into Whimsicott. We go back into Indeedee here. He doesn't really have much at this point. All he can really do is click Tailwind, which means no attack on that slot, right? I just wanted to nuke the Whimsicott here. And the Ursaluna, probably if he clicked Hyper Voice here, he would have been fine. But he went for the Blood Moon. He takes out the Indeedee, which is fine. But again, what I'm gonna... He does protect here because he doesn't have a choice. He wants to click Blood Moon again. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna click Protect first, right? And he makes the mistake and he goes for his Blood Moon, right? He should have went for Hyper Voice there, but he didn't. Now we just click Population Bomb, but it really didn't matter because, you know, your Tailwind doesn't make a huge difference because I was still faster. So, you know, those EVs didn't really matter because that Ursaluna was not that fast. All right, typical Dragonite balance stuff here with Buzz Gambit. No Sneasler here, but again, pivoting your Indeedee terrain is going to be important against the Rillaboom stuff, and trying to click Expanding Force is going to be very useful against everything he has except the Gambit. So I'm going to go with Delphox. I'm going to go with Whimsicott here. He's going to go with Volcarona himself, and there is said Rillaboom here. So this is a perfect time to go into Indeedee here, right? And at the same time, now there's goes a whiff on the Fake Out. There's Expanding Force, great damage. Right, and the Quiver Dance comes out from the Volcarona. However, that being said, okay, it goes into King Gambit. Now, I don't know why he does this. Does click Heat Wave. Listen, we would have been fine into that. So now I just click Heat Wave, and now we just remove the Volcarona. All right, that crit doesn't matter either. Okay, so there's the E-Force. Now Rillaboom can come back in and change terrain. This is all fine and dandy, right? I'm just gonna go into Ape here. I'm gonna Protect. I want to see if he gets baited, right? He does Fake Out my Delphox. And the Gambit actually double targets the Delphox. So I get the Ape in for free. Alright, so now that's pretty much it. There's Terrifier. That doesn't really matter. He did go for Sucker Punch. I figured, you know, I have an Indeedee. I didn't think you would try that play, but he did do it. Right? And I do get punished for that. Probably should have just clicked Drain Punch, honestly. I don't know why I clicked Rage Fist there. But I do get quote-unquote unrewarded there. But again, now we're fine. So there's D-Knight here. So now we can go Terra Fairy. He does Protect, okay? And I went for the Rage Fist into that slot. So now I break Multiscale, and now the Gambit has a choice to make, right? I figured he might go into Rillaboom so he can Sucker Punch me, but he went into the Rillaboom in the Gambit slot. So I was very confused about that. So I just went for Drain Punch into the Rillaboom, and the D-Knight went for Stomping Tantrum into my Whimsicott there. So now we're just chilling here. Because now Whimsicott, a Fairy type, is on the board. We click Moonblast into D-Knight, another CB crit. And here is another Rage Fist, and goodbye Rillaboom. So now you're just left with a Gambit, and the Gambit is not going to help him there, so that's an easy concede for us. All right, more Gothitelle Obsession from our opponents here. Incin, Amoonguss, Azumarill, Firewater Grasscutter with Dragapult there. So he's got a Dragon Fairy Steel Core as well. So he's got the trapping capabilities here. So again, Whimsicott Annihilape looks good. Dragapult here. And there is the Amoonguss. We have a Goggle, so we are totally fine here, right? So there's the Rage Powder. That does not matter. He goes for a Shadow Ball into my Ape, by the way. Okay, I could have even just tear that. I didn't expect Shadow Ball special Pult there, right? So there's the Moonblast, okay? And we get to go for the Rage of Fist, and goodbye Dragapult there. And now he's thinking, oh, that's Goggles, right? So here's Goldengo. All right, so I'm just gonna keep making him click Rage Powder. So now we just go for Rage Fist into the. I went to the Mungus, I think, right? I wanted to go into Goldango there. I thought he would protect Goldango. In all honesty, you see the Whimsicott here. Maybe just protect or go for like a Terra there, but he didn't. So this is fine. Now we just go Maushold Sneasler here. Okay, Terra Dark Sneasler, right? Rage Powder again. That's all he can do. So there's the Population Bomb, right? Again, I'm gonna take a lot of damage because he does have a Rocky Helmet on this Amoonguss. No berry here, right? But again, we do get to go for the Terra Dark Throw Chop into Goldango, and that's all we really need. And now he doesn't have a choice. Now he goes into Instant. This is fine because now we still have close combat Population Bomb stuff. So that's exactly what happens. Here we go, and you know he can't win anymore. But what I could have done like earlier was even just one a little bit easier, but few cleanup there's, right? So anyway, we removed the Intimidate, didn't matter. It was a 2-on-1 here. But the aggression with the Annihilate was what we were looking for here as well. All right, last one here. So they got their own Delphox team here. Again, another Fire Water Grass Score. Could be the pledge stuff here. He's got Blaziken. Probably that's the one with the Sash, right? Because, coaching. But what are you really coaching here? Just the Meowscarada? Maybe the Maushold here? I don't know what you're doing there. But either way, I'm going to go with Indeedee and I'm going to go with Sneasler here. And they're going to go with Indeedee. So they're going to automatically just give me the buff anyway, right? So Indeedee Delphox. So their Psy Spam Fire Mode. Terra Dark Sneasler comes out here. It has no choice. There's the Throat Chop. I went for Imprison. So this way he can't click the Expanding Force stuff, right? He has to click it this turn because he's faster. But in general, I just go for Imprison now. So now you're forced to click your Fire Mode. So I want that to go into the 8. But he just doesn't do it and instead just goes for Struggle. That was a set, okay? But I switched out my things. But I know these Blazikens love to protect turn 1, right? So all you have to do is just take out the Delphox and now you're just cooking again. Okay? So now he's got 1 Mon left and we're going to see it right now here. And I believe it was the Meowscarada, yes. So that means because the Blaziken has a Sash, that means Meowscarada doesn't have the Sash. So that's easy close combat. Right, and that's pretty much it. Even though you remove my Sneasler here, I was messing around a little bit. All right, I could have just easily clicked Final Gambit, but again, Drain Punch was more than sufficient here. And now we just clean up with the mouse here, and that's pretty much it. I can just click Follow Me here. I didn't even need to do anything else. All right, Maushold just drops, right? Because again, Blaziken only has a single target move there, and we just click Final Gambit because we can. And that's exactly how we're gonna end this game as well. All right, so there it is. There is our Delphox Psy Spam mode there with the Mouse Ape engine. Relatively easy to use and play, I would say. And again, if Delphox is a Pokemon that you like and you want to use, here we go, free team. We'll put this in the video description below. And again, if this is also something you're interested in, check out coaching on our channel. Tier 3 sub will get you that coaching session with me where we get to build a team like this. We get to hash out all the EVs. And from there, you can even choose the tier 4 sub where you can still get the team building session. But now you also have earned the access to send me showdown replays where we can critique your battles. We can give you advice on how to optimize certain plays there. And then from there, if you're working towards a cup or maybe a regional, then we can do a little bit more sparring and a little bit more practice with the squad as well. All right, so that's it. Check out the video description below to click the link for the tier sub, as well as in the pinned comment section of the video where you can click the same link to join the channel with that tier sub. But until then, guys, take a look at the paste in the video description as well. But we'll be back with another one. Peace out and have a good one.